Deidara was a ninja from Iwagakure and who was both a pupil of the 3rd Tsuchikage Inoki and a member of the village's explosion corps. Though praised highly for his clay sculptures, Deidara's desire to reach even greater heights in his art resulted with him stealing forbidden jutsu that enables him to infuse chakra into an item. Using clay explosives created by that method to take out his pursuers and Iwagakure, Deidara found the art he had desired. The art of a single moment. Remembering the first moment whenever he detonated his explosive clay. Since then, Deidara became a rogue ninja and offered his services as a bomber to insurgents in various countries. Eventually, Deidara was visited by the Akatsuki who wanted his services as they needed a replacement member after Orochimaru defected. Deidara refused at first until he accepts a challenge from Itachi Uchiha on the condition that the Akatsuki let him be if he won. However, Deidara was easily defeated by Itachi's Sharingan and joined the Akatsuki as part of the deal. His ego crushed since then, Deidara carried a murderous loathing for Itachi and the Sharingan for the rest of his life. Partner to Sasori, who followed a polar opposite view on art, Deidara eventually came to enjoy being an Akatsuki despite his reluctance to join the organization since he gained an opportunity to test his art against strong opponents. Accompanied by Sasori, Deidara was to capture the one-tailed Jinchuriki Gaara. Deidara, although nearly overpowered by Gaara's tremendous power, managed to outsmart him to defeat him by leveraging the lives of the citizens of Sunagakure and then forcing him to use his instant defense, which he had trapped but at the cost of his right arm. By the time he and the other Akatsuki members sealed Shukaku into the demonic statue of the outer path, Deidara and Sasori waited for Team Kakashi and Chiyo to see their reactions to find them with Gaara's dead body. As Itachi had said that Naruto would be the first to react. Luring Naruto away with Kakashi in pursuit, Deidara ended up losing his other arm and faked his death with a clay clone. After his arms was reattached by Kakuzu, Deidara was partnered to Tobi, whose childish behavior annoyed him to no end as he helped the new member capture Asobu the Three Tails. When Deidara learned that Sasuke Uchiha defeated Orochimaru, Deidara tracked down Sasuke and fought him. Deidara and Sasuke clashed, but although Deidara managed to blow off one of Sasuke's wings and nearly kill him more than once, Sasuke ultimately proved to be the superior ninja, using his lightning techniques and Sharingan to neutralize most of Deidara's attacks, even harming his own body, but still succeeding in defeating Deidara by rendering his last attempt to hit him with his C4 useless. As Sasuke cornered Deidara only to briefly fall on his knees, Deidara became utterly maddened by Sasuke's utter disregard and underestimation of his art and turned himself into a suicide bomb to take Sasuke out with him. However, Sasuke survived using Manda as a shield and teleporting Manda and himself out, with the attack only injuring but not killing Sasuke. Deidara was later reanimated by Kabuto Yakushi, aiding him in his attack on Estonica village, and later going after Naruto and Killer Bee, before Deidara ends up fighting his former mentor and his bodyguards. He was later paired up with Sasori on the surprise attack and diversion platoon, as the Fourth Great Ninja War commences, as he and Sasori combine their talents to carry living puppet bombs out of allied ninja they captured, and even some on their own. Eventually, Deidara is captured and taken into the custody of the 5th Division. While held captive, Deidara is livid to learn of Sasuke's survival before managing to escape thanks to the White Zetsu army infiltrating the 5th Division. With the entire 5th Division in pursuit, with only a sword that he uses as makeshift ground rod, Deidara is forced to use guerrilla tactics to evade them while gathering clay. Eventually, Deidara is recaptured within Black Ant after falling prey to Kuretsuchi posing as Sasuke to lure him into a trap. Still demanding that they release him before he exploded, he told Kankurm that in art, there was no such things as duds before being taken by surprise by the release of reanimation jutsu. Deidara returns to the afterlife. As an S-rank shinobi, he is easily above the average jonin and is able to destroy an entire platoon of shinobi by himself. His sheer talent in the shinobi arts led to Nagato, leader and second most powerful of the Akatsuki, call him a major loss to their organization. He's defeated Gaara, the current Kazekage. He did lose an arm in the process though, and managed to avoid capture by Team Guy with no arms, although only by faking his death was he able to escape. He fought evenly with Sasuke Uchiha for an extended amount of time, despite Sasuke's abilities countering his own. After being resurrected, he fought the 3rd Tsuchikage on even grounds and would have continued if not for the fact that he was called back. One of Deidara's strong points was his high intelligence, often using tricks, misdirection, and calculated gambles to get his explosives in range of an opponent, while calculating the distance, each action functioning as learning two things at the same time. He demonstrated these skills in his fight with Gaara, putting clay into Gaara's sand as it destroyed his arm. During his battle against Sasuke, he managed to trick him on a few occasions, such as trapping him between his C2 dragon in the sky and the landmines buried underneath the ground by Toby, and again when he lured him into his C4 attack at point blank. In the anime, Deidara managed to deduce a workaround to his weakness to lightning release by using a sword as a makeshift ground rod to siphon off the lightning-based attacks his explosive clay was weak against. Notably, he is said to be a 4.5 in the data books, surpassing several prodigies such as Sasuke, which makes somewhat sense, as despite losing to the latter, his pride in his art was predominantly the reason for his downfall in this case. Deidara had shown some skill with the shadow clone technique, incorporating it into some of his techniques, such as the suicide bombing clone. Deidara was also able to weave one-hand signs, something said to be rare among shinobi. Deidara possessed the explosion release Kekkei Genkai. This allowed him, by simultaneously using earth and lightning chakra natures, to give his chakra explosive qualities. Deidara also possessed a special mouth on each palm and on the left side of his chest as a result of stealing and using a powerful kenjutsu from his village on himself. By commonly using these two special abilities in unison, he could create explosive clay. Clay infused with his explosive chakra that detonated with the command Katsu and the seal of confrontation. This clay could be molded into a wide variety of shapes and forms, growing to large sizes when infused with chakra, with Deidara performing the necessary hand seals, and could be controlled at will. This allowed him to create living explosives to attack opponents at long range. Deidara could even create clones from the clay and can detonate them, which his will make for a deadly surprise attack, and if need be, create clay minions to control with a cord from a distance. Deidara's clay creations range from microscopic to gigantic in size, allowing him to adapt to any situation from creating dragons to shoot smaller clay bombs, to working in conjunction with Toby to lay explosive clay landmines underground to limit the opponent's movements. As an ultimate last resort, Deidara could turn himself into a bomb by devouring explosive clay that has a large blast radius, in which he calls his ultimate art. Deidara could also use the clay for other purposes, as he was frequently seen creating birds to be used for transportation, which also functioned as a way to easily infiltrate villages on missions. It seemed he also knew standard earth-based techniques, as shown from his earth release. Hiding like a mole technique, which he used to avoid damage from one of his mass-scale bombs. Since all of his explosives were earth-based, they were vulnerable to lightning, and most could thereby be defused with lightning-based attacks. Deidara wore a scope on his left eye for long-range observation, and he had trained the eye itself to counter genjutsu, allowing him to see through and negate them. When he did this, his pupil would contract. This training was done in order to counter Itachi's powerful genjutsu skills, of which he had a considerable loathing for, and wished to defeat him when he got the chance. Deidara also seems to be able to see long distances without his scope, as after being reincarnated, he found enemy shinobi lurking near Toby's hideout. He still needed to close his right eye in order to use his left eye for long-distance vision. Deidara's stealth skills were rather proficient, able to sneak up on two of Konoha's Anbu members as they were scouting with no apparent effort. He possesses high reaction speed, able to avoid a high-speed blitz by Sasuke. He also fought at long range on par with Inoki for a brief period of time. He had enough strength to dislodge the Fma shuriken that pierced and pinned his arms using his legs.